The battle for leadership of Jamaica's opposition People's National Party is in full gear right now. And as the two contenders, Lisa Hanna and Mark Goldin, seek to win over delegates of the party, reggae appears to be a campaign tool like we saw in the just concluded general elections.
Right.
But what is Mark Goldin's reggae credentials and, more importantly, legislative plan for Jamaica's entertainment? Mark Goldin is on our stage right now, and we're going to put those questions directly to him. Mr. Goldin, sir, welcome.
Mr. Williams, pleasure to be here.
It's my pleasure, sir, to have you.
Yeah, man.
You know, but you know, you first of all, your own personal disappointment with the recent general elections.
Yeah. Well, we know we suffered a devastating defeat because we only ended up with 14 seats out of 63, and many good MPs who had served the people well and put in a lot of effort and resources ended up losing, and losing quite badly in some instances. So we recognize that the party needs to really wheel and come again. We need to really rebuild the party, and the whole of the campaign that we're now on, Lisa and myself, is really about who is best to do that, and the delegates will make that decision. It's a respectful campaign. Lisa's my friend, my comrade, and I will work with her, she will work with me going forward, whatever happens. So, you know, we want to really change the paradigm as to how internal party elections have been run, so that the party ends up being stronger rather than fragmented at the end of the process. And she and I are both committed to that, for which I'm very grateful.
Did you always have aspirations for leadership of the party?
To be honest, I have really been a team player. I've been quite happy to serve the movement in whatever capacity I have been asked to. I've been a senator, I'm a member of parliament, I was Minister of Justice in the last government, I've been treasurer of the party, I've been on the executive for many years and so on. So I'm somebody who's committed to serving Jamaica through the People's National Party as a vehicle of change, of transformation. In terms of leadership, I have seen the situation that we now are in, where we're coming from, how badly we were beaten, the weaknesses that we need to correct in the party to rebuild and become strong again. I just think that this is my time really to offer myself, not because of any egotistical reason, but primarily because people want to see me go forward, and I believe I have what it takes to lead the party effectively. So that is why I'm putting myself forward.
The impression I have is that people wanted you more than you wanted to do it, because we have never heard you doing or saying anything like you want to lead. But people are always saying and calling up your name in leadership.
Boy,
about
so
leadership.
Going on. You know, many are called, have chosen are few, but I must tell you that it is something which is a big decision for me, and it's a big change in my life, but I've committed myself to it, and when I commit myself to something, I really give it my all, and I bring integrity to it, and ethics, and a lot of love and respect for people, and that is what I'm about, really, at this time.
All right, so before I ask you, why should they choose you over Miss Hanna, I'm going to ask you about your music credentials, your dancehall credentials.
Yes.
But first of all, the question of the use of music in the campaigns.
Yes.
Are you using music in your campaign?
Well, I have always been involved in music as a child. I used to sing in my school choir. I was a soloist back then. As a teenager, I was in a couple of bands, and I write music. And then later on, as an adult, I got into music production. I formed a label with a friend, Ray Hitchens, who's a very accomplished musician and engineer. And we produced 3 albums, including the acclaimed Ashes on the Windowsill by Della Manley, her first album, and also an instrumental reggae album by a trumpeter called Mickey Hansen called For the Love of It. And a concept album, which was really a reggae mass. A former Catholic priest had this idea of celebrating the new millennium in the year 2000 with a reggae mass, and we brought in some top artists, including Toots. Toots is on that album, God bless it, and may his soul rest in peace, Toots. Yes. So I've written campaign songs for PNP MPs before in there, and even for the party in the 2011 campaign, I produced a campaign song which I had written. So I've been involved in music thoroughly, and as a young man, we used to love go dance, you know, and them thing there. In those days, it was Jallo with Isla with the selector and Brigadier J around the microphone stand. And of course, Kilimanjaro with Early B and Supercat, and everybody of my generation used to rate Supercat as a DJ, you know, as up-and-coming DJ. Peter Metro is another DJ who I respect from Metro Media and so on. So that is one, in fact, that is a route that I have really gone into the culture of the country and really learned more about Jamaican people at all levels, because my father was a professor at UWI, first professor of orthopedics at the University of the West Indies. But we lived on Mona campus near Augustown and Hermitage, and used to play ball with the man them, and through music, you know, and partying with them, kind of got a sense of what Jamaica is really about and how, the struggles that the Jamaican people face. And that is one of the reasons why I feel now well conditioned in terms of understanding to move into leadership.
Wow.
That was, I mean, I'm a corporate lawyer, so I'm really in the world of finance and the legal aspects of finance, but music, because of my involvement in the music industry, and I did intellectual property as one of my master's degree courses when I did my LLM, which is a master's degree in law. So I've actually represented quite a few artists over my time. Big up Richie Stevens, Nadine Sutherland, Cutty Ranks, and others, you know. But I want to tell you, asked about elections and music.
Yeah.
And in the last general election just gone, in South St. Andrew, which is my constituency, which, as you know, is Trenchtown, Arnett Gardens, you know, Jonestown and Rosetown and Rema. So we had an innovation where we launched a song competition for the best campaign song for Mark Golding's campaign, you know, with a prize for the person who came first and the second and third. And we threw it out there, and we got, I think, 15 produced songs were submitted, which were then ranked online. We did an online poll to decide who the winner was, and it was great, and it was well received. And I've really supported the music industry in the constituency. Triple L in Jonestown, you know, the Big Link Productions in Angola, and now a new one called Crow Records on Upper Ivy Road. So big up all of the producers and artists in South St. Andrew, you know, say I have your back and will support you every time. Yeah, man.
Well, it sounds like a quiet storm in music. A powerhouse in music heading for the top job.
Yeah, well, it's a love, it's a passion, you know. Music is a thing that is like a food for the soul, you know. So I love music.
Well, a video that went viral is proving that. Let's take a look at it right here.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah, man, that's me and my comrades, you know. That's Collie Smith Drive right by a community in Arnett Gardens called Brooklyn, you know. And that's, I think, 2017 that video was taken. So
like you're doing it for the love and not the like, right? This music. Yeah. I mean, that is a shocker. I mean, most of us wouldn't expect you to be. What would I call that is Yaola vibe.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. Well, I didn't know it was being videoed. Probably if I had, I would have been a little bit more, less expressive, you know. But
oh, no, man, no.
And the people them love it.
You don't get wicked up.
So it go on.
Okay,
yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right, sir. So let's talk a little bit now about your plan for. Well, first of all, I'd like to ask you about the impact of COVID on entertainment.
Yeah, man.
So many musicians out of a job right now, not working. These guys, a lot of them, as you would know, would be overseas touring and all of that. It seems to me that we had no plan in place to address something like this.
Yeah.
It's the novel coronavirus, yes, but
true.
When you look at how it is being managed by the present administration, would you do anything? Would you, if you were in office, would you have done anything differently?
Yeah, it's always, you know, easy to stand back and criticize and so on, you know. But truthfully, the entertainment sector has been really hard hit by it because both the sort of more commercial side of it on the North Coast and the artists who serve the hotels and do, you know, the shows up for the tourists and so. And of course, with the lockdown of Jamaica, which took place in terms of the borders, and so many hotels going out of business temporarily, hopefully, it has meant that those artists and musicians are not getting enough food off of that. And then, of course, for our reggae artists too, as you say, the ones who tour, and this is how they make most of their money. And that has been really curtailed because of this whole pandemic. So in terms of a response, we saw the online events.
Yes.
You know, the one that Beanie and Bounty did, you know, and how that took off and really went viral across the world, so to speak. And I think that is something we should be doing. We should use more creatively at a time like this. You know, I think this is the opportunity for even the government to help promote online events with our artists. Maybe we could twin it with soca. You know, for Trinidad, we could twin it with Afrobeats from West Africa, and we could twin it with South African music too, and have like a cultural milieu through an online experience, which could be promoted around the world, and that would be an opportunity for income to be earned, artists to be promoted, and so on, and develop a new channel of distribution and selling ourselves as musicians to the world. So I think that's an area where we need to put more effort and be a bit more proactive and creative as well. I mean, the whole question of the social distancing rules, and you know, I don't want to second guess those things, because every day now people are dead from COVID. So, you know, we have to be very careful about it and have to take it seriously. But having said that, the whole permitting system, and this is not just COVID related really, because this predates that, but the way in which entertainment, the right to put on entertainment operates in Jamaica, I don't think is a good system. I'm not happy with it, because even in my constituency, which is where I'm familiar with it, which is the heart of reggae music, Trench Town, you know?
Of course.
And the people love the music and love them entertainment. They find it very difficult oftentimes to put on a little party or a little dance or whatever it may be, because the permitting system, which is administered, it's administered as a law enforcement tool, and often in a way that appears quite arbitrary. So a community down there, so them get permit, and by us we can't get none, you know. And many people make a living off of the music, you know, whether it be the round robin bar system or whether it be the cane man, the soup man, the people doing the hair for the ladies who come in, people making the outfits for all those kind of things. So it's a big industry at the grassroots level, and we really need to facilitate it. We have an idea, which we were pursuing, of having entertainment zones legislated for, which wouldn't be subject to the normal limits of how late you can go. Because that's another bone of contention, as you know, where people have to lock down at a certain time, and then often that is a hustling thing that come out of that, and so on. But the idea was we have certain designated places around the corporate area and other parts of Jamaica, because not just Kingston, where entertainment events can take place, and they're properly designed and configured for that, parking arrangements, etc., security, and so on. And that can be where visitors can come, our Jamaican people can come, and so on, and do their thing. And I think that was something we were working on quite hard, and had reached a certain point. And I don't know what has happened to it. It seems to have stalled. But I think we need to have something like that, because we need to encourage our nightlife in the country, and not just on the corner, but also at a bigger level as well.
So that's something that you would revisit if
definitely.
you were elected to the top job?
Definitely. My friend Damon Crawford was the architect of that. And I'd helped him to develop the policy from the legislative standpoint, because that was my area of expertise in the government at the time. And we did quite a lot of work on it, and I know he's anxious to see it brought to fruition as well. So, yeah.
But in terms of a care package, because we've seen this care thing being talked about, but I don't know that, isn't there something more that could be done for artists, especially players of instruments?
Yeah. There should be.
Who would have any income when there is no tours?
I mean, you know, I spoke in Parliament about the care program and the limitations of it because of the way it was rolled out, and the economy continues to contract. You know, the person's disposable income is shrinking, and the longer it gets, the harder it gets for people. And it was very front-ended in the sense that, for example, all of the arrangements which were for the less formal sector or persons who are unemployed and so on, those were done up front, and haven't been repeated. So, and then for many people, for example, for the small business grant and so on, to get through the door, you had to show registration that was current as at the time that COVID started. Many people, including artists and so on, were unable to access that. So, the system was done so meticulous and rigid that it excluded many people who would have otherwise qualified. And I think a little more flexibility could have been shown there. And I said as well, we need to be careful that we don't allow the economy to result in social dislocation and social unrest, which could further damage the economy. So although I sympathize with the Minister of Finance trying to finance his whole COVID response without borrowing any money and trying to be very tight around that, I think at this time we have to be a little bit more flexible, because we know where we're going and we want to get the public debt down to a manageable level, and we've been on that path for several years now and we're committed to it. But in a crisis, sometimes you have to be a little bit more flexible so that the thing don't just mash up. And I think that I was encouraging him yesterday to think along those lines so more can be done for the people who need it.
Wow. Well, someone like you will be held accountable.
Yeah.
Well, pressure will come at you. And because the soundtrack of your life is reggae / dancehall. The soundtrack of your life. Because you were born, you and the music and you are about the same age.
Yeah. I'm born in 1965. I'm 55 years old.
Right, so the music is a little bit older than you.
A little bit older.
And so it's the soundtrack of your life.
Yeah.
And we're seeing more and more leaders, including the Prime Minister, embracing, consuming, and talking about music.
Yeah.
So now more pressure will be brought to bear on gentlemen like you and ladies who are, I call some of them dancehall, children of dancehall, who now are going to be pressured into make it better for those who choose to do that for a living.
Yeah, man.
And the glory it brings to all of us, the successes that we're getting overseas and all around the world.
Absolutely. Look, Jamaica is on the map and is known internationally, largely because of reggae music. That is one of the biggest things. Rastafari, twin with reggae music, twin with ganja. And I want to tell you, one of the most important things I have done for Jamaica in my time was to pioneer and push through the legislation for the decriminalization of ganja. Many musicians have benefited from that. Remember Toots himself, when he wrote 5446 was my number, was because he had an experience incarcerated because of a draw weed, which he claimed wasn't even his anyway. And similarly, Bunny Wailer had a similar experience, And both of those, Bunny Wailer come from 2nd Street in Trenchtown. And Toots was living in Trenchtown too. And I'm the MP for Trenchtown, so I take them things very seriously.
Yes.
So I don't think it can be a one-way street. Politicians can't just use music to G up a crowd or to big up themselves or whatever. You have to understand the music, you have to embrace the music, you have to support the music, right? Because it is a source of so much of Jamaica's strength, our brand strength, our international recognition, and the livelihood of many, many of our people. So I think it has to be a symbiotic relationship. There must be give and take. We must support for support.
Wow. Well, well, it's good to know that. So the knowledge, the experience is in government now, right now. Whether in opposition or leading or in government. So no more excuse, we want to see change, we want venues, we want that zone where people can dance from yesterday till tomorrow. Okay?
Yeah.
We want gainful employment in the space.
Yeah.
We want artists to get help when they go overseas promoting the hell out of Jamaica, to the four corners of the earth. When they go to venues. I've been to many, many places in the world with artists on tour to get a first-hand look at the impact of our culture and cultures around the world.
Yeah,
and I have seen with my own eyes and captured and reported how people are responding, and it's not matching how we are treating it back here.
True.
And I think that, for example, the budget, the big spend for tourism to promote hotels and come to Jamaica, artists are probably more effective than those ads, those expensive ads in mainstream media overseas.
We had an interesting idea in our manifesto in the last election. one of the ideas we had was that the tourist board ought to sponsor broadcasting college radio for Jamaican music. So that all across the eastern and western seaboard of the United States and maybe other places too. So our music could be heard, new and upcoming artists along with the traditionals and classics of the music, because we want to ensure that generations to come all around the world in our major markets for our music continue to be exposed to it. And this is something that the state could do to support the industry. That was just one idea, but I thought it was a good idea. And the zones is another. And the tools of trade, the duty-free importation of studio equipment and musical equipment is a third. When I was on the entertainment board, when Portia Simpson Miller was the Minister of Tourism, she put me on the entertainment board. It was tourism and entertainment then. And that was something that we championed at the time, And there are other issues like film, for example. How do we incentivize persons to come here and produce films, which music will benefit from? And it's not just music, because it's entertainment, right? So it's a wider thing than music, though music is a critical part of that. And the treaties that Jamaica needs to sign to become a destination for film investment, that's something we were looking at. I don't think much progress has been made in that area. So I think that, we need to really put more emphasis and more diligent focus around some of the things that will help us to really move the thing forward, because creative industries must be part of the economic future of the country, right? And we've seen the vulnerability of tourism, where so much of our economy is at a standstill because of things largely beyond our control, people not coming here because of the COVID situation, So other areas, other sectors need to be built up. Agriculture being one, for example, manufacturing related to agriculture, manufacturing unrelated to agriculture as well. But also the creative industries, which was our creative talents as a Jamaican people, were rated around the world.
Unmatched in my view.
Well, there you go.
I don't think there's any other country except the UK and the US.
Yeah.
Of course, the US would be number one.
Yeah.
Well, I think we're battling the UK for number two in music,
Well, there you go.
In music, not just music.
I mean, a whole modern Black American genre of hip hop and so on, and everything that's come off of that. We know, say, dancehall was the origin of that, and it is now recognized, even in the US.
Reggaeton, Afrobeat, dancehall all over.
Yeah, and even our language, the Jamaican language, the language of our people, is a language which has spawned in the UK. Urban youths, that's what they're speaking of, variety of that.
Of course.
Yeah, and
the street culture.
Yeah, the street culture stuff.
Of the UK, of London.
And many people around the world rate the Jamaican culture and rate the Jamaican language. In fact, they rate it more than we rate it.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, and we need to learn to rate it and respect it and use it to further our development in positive ways.
Okay, sir. So the big question now for you. And back to the campaign. Why should the PNP delegates choose you over Miss Hannah?
Well, I know over Miss Hannah, Lisa, I'm a friend still, and respect Lisa. But I bring to the table technical competence and an understanding of the issues of state, whether it be governance issues, legislative issues. I've been a leading corporate attorney. I'm respected in the private sector after years of serving, working on many of the big transactions, cross-border and domestic transactions. I've started 2 different investment firms which were very successful, Daring Bunting and Golding Limited, which I started with Chris Daring and Peter Bunting, and then Proven Investments, which is still going strong. As a Minister of Justice, I was in charge of the legislative portfolio of the government at the time, which was very heavy because of the IMF agreement, and we delivered all of that legislation on time, and we got through the program successfully. So I am somebody who has competence and capacity in the areas of substance that are needed, I think, and I think the Jamaican people and the People's National Party has a tradition of wanting leaders who are very strong technically and in terms of their intellectual capacity and so on. I also have a reputation as a straight shooter, as a person of integrity, an ethical person, and I think the combination of those things and my experience will help me to bring resources to the party. I have organizational skills as somebody who's been in business. The law firm I'm in, when I joined that law firm, it was just 3 old guys and myself as a young youth. And now Hartmere Fatah is ranked international as one of the top tier law firms in Jamaica. I think we have 12 partners now and a bunch of associate attorneys as well. So I've built many businesses and I've built organizations. I have a caring heart and a respect for people. I don't have any enemies in the party. And in terms of how I deal with my constituency, I got the most votes in the last election of any candidate for the People's National Party. And I went up by over 1,000, around 1,400, 500 votes versus what I got when I first went in the by-election in 2017. And I think when you look at the strength of the constituency, how I've brought in young people through the PNP-YO into South St. Andrews YO organization, we have over 100 active members, and I include them and support them. And I think the PNP needs further strength in appealing to young people.
Okay.
And to do that, it's not just about wearing Clarks or calling yourself a name, you know. It's how you deal with young people, how you fashion policies that can help them to get ahead in life, and how you respect them and integrate them into what you are doing. And I think I'm showing in how I organize my constituency and the plans I have for the PNP-YO and the Patriots in the party, an appreciation of where we need to go in terms of positioning the party to appeal to young people, while by no means forgetting that our bedrock of support is the more mature voters who know where we're coming from and know the benefits of the People's National Party's orientation towards social justice and upliftment of the masses of the people.
All right, so Lisa is my friend, you say.
Yeah, man.
Will you take a job in her administration?
Of course.
If she were to?
Of course. Yes. I mean, yeah.
And you will support her if you don't get the presidency?
Well, I won't have to, because I'm going to get the presidency. But in answer to your question, yeah, whatever happens, Lisa is welcome, fully. And I look forward to working with Lisa going forward, whatever card play. But I fully expect to be the leader of the party come the 7th of November, and I fully expect Lisa to come on board as she has pledged she will. We've been friends from before politics, long ago. We met in the early 90s. I'm not going to go into the circumstances of that, but she and I know where we're coming from.
How fractured is the PNP now, and what would you do to bring people back together, to rebuild the PNP? And will it not be more fractured after this?
Prior to the general election, I personally felt that the party was more cohesive than we had been for some time. Efforts had been made in the last year leading up to the election. Maybe they could have been more intense and happened earlier, but they eventually took place to really reconcile everybody and get everybody back on as one team. But the perception, even amongst the base and outside of the party, is one that there were lingering divisions. And since the election now, I have heard and seen manifestations of persons still hanging on to issues of the past. You know, and my message to everybody is, look, past campaigns are no longer relevant. You know, we have just suffered a catastrophic defeat. We have to rebuild our party. And the only way we're going to do that is if we come together around a common purpose. And in dealing with each other, respect must be the order of the day. There must be discipline in how we communicate with the wider public in terms of how we use social media and how we treat with each other in our meetings and elsewhere. And so I'm all about a disciplined approach to those things, but a respectful and loving approach to each other and embracing everybody. And I'm very pleased that in my campaign chairman was somebody who was not on the same side as me a year ago in the internal contest.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, my campaign communications person is the same, and several other persons who are important members of my campaign are persons who happened to not be on the same side last year. Last year is last year. This is a new era for the People's National Party. We have to draw a line in the sand and move forward as one strong force, because that's the only way we're going to resume the noble mission that was started back in 1938 by Norman Washington Manley and his colleagues at the time. Yeah, man.
Okay, Sir Golden.
Yeah, man.
Thank you very much, sir, for coming and sharing so much with us.
Thank you.
To blow us away with your credentials in music and entertainment.
So,
you know what I mean?
But I wouldn't even talk about sports, but that's a whole different story.
Wow. Well, you know, I wouldn't give a sports show that one. They can take that one.
Yeah, man, cool.
But thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Respect and thanks.
And so that's it. That's the man right here, vying for the presidency of the People's National Party. And by extension, the top office, that of Prime Minister of